Okay, well, I was expecting too much then, so I was going to be really nice about Ben, to be honest. He was a good guy. I was going to tell you what a great mate he is. But after that character assassination earlier, I thought I'd spend a few minutes in the interval looking through my phone, pull the same trick maybe, last year's worth of messages. And there were a few I could pull out. And I ran that by Ben just to see how he'd go down with that. And he said to me, "Oh, give me a break, mate. It's nice of you. Rules are the same for one, for another." So yeah, he said that's not fair, so I'm not going to do that. But I guess in times when you're struggling like I am at the moment, you see who your friends are. But as I say, at least expectations are now fairly low. And if anyone wants paracetamol or ibuprofen tomorrow with a sore head, I've got a fully stocked suitcase upstairs. It can certainly help out in that department. But yeah, so thanks to Ben for his charming introduction. He always says the nicest of things, and I'd like to say that it's been an absolute honour and a pleasure to be Ben's best man. But that would be lying, to be honest. It's been a massive pain in the arse. I mean, traditionally, the role of best man is quite straightforward, I think, as I'm sure Ben found out doing it for me a few months ago. You find out what the stag, you say thank you for starters when you're asked, and then you find out what the groom wants to do for their stag do, organise it, write a speech, calm the groom's nerves the night before, make sure he gets to the church on time. That was difficult. Ben didn't know where the church was today. Make sure he's got the ring, deliver the speech, say how lovely the bride looks, and that's job done. So it's not too difficult ordinarily. Easy to plan, fairly straightforward, lots of time to organise it in. But like so often with Ben, things are never quite as straightforward as easy as they seem. To start with, the timeline was very short. I think there were a couple of months between the proposal and today, and the stag do was to be straight after Christmas. Organising any kind of social event just after Christmas is not an easy thing. No one wants to spend their money then. Secondly, there were to be two best men, myself and Nick, sat over there. And I thought, well, that's good. Ben and me and his brother, that would spread the load a little bit. I can share that, split the effort. I had a partner in crime. But I started to think something wasn't quite right when I organised the stag do in complete isolation. And then the day before the stag do, Toby, Ben's other brother, came to me and said, "Oh, Nick's not going to be able to make the stag do. He's got his dates mixed up and he'd rather go to France." But you think, okay, well, these things happen. And then while actually in the pub on the stag do, Toby sent me a message saying, "I'm sorry, mate, I can't come either." Something more important's come up. But I guess that's probably love alive and well for you, Ben. So. You'll also know that Nick isn't sat nervously waiting for his half of the speech. Ben let him off the hook less than a week ago. Which means that I found out less than a week ago. Sometime after I'd written my speech, in which Nick was going to go first and tell you all about Ben's early years, and then I'd follow on from there. So thanks for that as well, Ben. So after a series of manic rewrites and cursing, here we are. Final duties underway, and hopefully my part of this will soon be wrapped up. So let me tell you a bit about Ben. I've known Ben a long time. About 20 years now. We lived together for 4 years. I was on holiday with them when Ben met Maria, and I've been a counsel for him through a number of trials and tribulations over time, so I'm fairly well positioned to give some lesser-known insights, I think, into the man. And some of these things would have been useful for me to know before summer of 2003 when we decided to buy a flat together. You never get told the things you need to find out before you've made the commitment, do you? The first one. Ben is one of the few human males over the age of about 9 or 10 who owns a comfort blanket. And whilst that in itself is fairly unusual, but to some extent understandable for some, where they have fond memories of their childhood and something that stayed with them over the years. This comfort blanket isn't the relic from childhood that you think it might be. That one got lost in Tenerife. when a cleaner mistook it for a dirty old piece of rubbish. No, the one that Ben holds today, that cherishes, was bought when he was 27. So when we bought the flat together, I was totally unaware of this. And we were doing what you do when you buy a flat, you're moving in, there's stuff to do. And Ben said to me he had Mama with him. And I immediately thought that meant that Jane was around giving him a hand. But it turns out Ben not only has a comfort blanket, but that blanket has a name. And that name is Mama. And so for anyone that sees Ben with this grey thing wrapped around his neck any time, you can be sure that Mama is always with him. But that's not all. Ben also has an unnerving obsession with health and hygiene. But that obsession seems to disappear as soon as he gets ill. I remember many a time in the flat when I'd come home and Ben was feeling a bit poorly, and the flat would have debris everywhere from his illness. There were tissues on the floor, tissues on the cupboards. It was disgusting. Every corner was covered. But fortunately for Ben, I'm a pretty calm, reassuring and easygoing guy. And that was important one time when I found Ben a bit nervous and was debating the need for some drastic treatment for his latest illness or malady. He was talking about the need for radiography or chemotherapy. And it transpired that he'd found a small lump near his rear end. Fortunately for Ben, I was quickly able to calm his fears, suggest maybe some more dietary fibre, and a trip to the pharmacist for some hemorrhoid ointment. And the relief on his face was something to behold. Never has someone been so let off the hook. What else have I got? Okay. Ben Giles of 2015 is very, very boring. When I ask if he wants to go out, the most common response is, no thanks, I'm going to stay indoors with Manus. Just to be clear, Manus is Ben's pet cat. I got married last year, and as I said, Ben was my best man. He was eventually cajoled into organising a stag do for me. It took some time, and we ended up in a lively seaside town in Britain. Ben, being the best man, obviously made sure things went well and was the first to bed on both nights. So for Ben's stag do, I thought, well, he's got some catching up to do. We'll do something, truly epic. He was not very excited. And for 8 or 9 weeks, it was a negotiation process with Ben. I'd spoken to his friends, people that I thought were going to be keen to come, and we talked about legendary bar crawls, foreign destinations, adrenaline-fueled pastimes and activities. And after 8 or 9 weeks of trying to convince him this was a good idea, he turned around and said, I want a normal night out at home, or I'm not going. Frankly, I was surprised that Manus wasn't one of the stipulations in attendance. A true life and soul. Anyway, the stag do happened. I can assure you, Toby and Nick. And at 11:45, there Ben was, dribbling down his shirt, hazy-eyed, and very worse for wear. And the best thing I thought at that point was to get him home to Mama. and leave Maria to pick up the pieces the next day. Sorry, Maria. And lastly, about Ben in isolation. So, Ben's got this affliction with OCD. I don't know if anybody knows. Has anyone noticed? I once watched Ben spend 28 minutes locking his car. Videoed it for posterity. And then when we got into the flat, a small inquiry as to whether he'd locked the boot saw him run back downstairs to check. I've also been in the pub with Ben, and after 20 minutes he's run home for fear of not having shut the front door. And I'm sure that you've all seen the numerous checks and balances that go on in Ben's life. My personal experience was the checks for the gas hob, the light switches, the plug sockets, the back door, the windows, the iron. But possibly the strangest of all when living here with him was that when he wanted to vacuum, he made me sit on the sofa first. And this was really weird. And it transpired that Ben was worried that if he vacuumed and I wasn't already sitting down, that I would move around and leave footprints in the carpet. Because he'd have got the pile running one way just how he wanted it. Now all of that makes Ben sound a bit of a nutcase. But in reality, he's just a thoughtful guy, concerned that all is well, and knows that he'll sleep easier when he knows that there are no taps dripping. So that's enough on Ben, I think. So what are Ben and Maria? Fortunately, these quirks of personality have not prevented Ben from finding a beautiful woman to become his wife. And Maria is definitely one of the most kind and caring people you could hope to meet, and is fortunately a trained nurse as well. So that definitely ticks at least 2 or 3 boxes. I think we'll all agree that Maria looks stunning this evening, and has done all day. She takes great pride in her appearance. And this was never more evident than the time that they were both woken in the middle of the night, and there was a disaster going on in the back garden. The garden shed was going up in a blaze of flames and fire, taking with it anything in its path. As you can imagine, Ben, being the man, leapt into action, called the fire brigade, started to fight the fire in any way he could, saved as many things as he could from going up in flames, all the stuff that we'd all do. Heroic. Maria too, I understand, was immediately into action. She heard that the fire brigade was soon to arrive and rushed to the bathroom to fix her hair and her makeup, making sure that when the fire arrived, she would look her best for the real heroes. But I've no doubt that was purely to maximise the damsel in distress opportunity, and had nothing to do with a group of fit, muscly men coming to save her from the chaos. And fortunately, no one was hurt. Ben moved quickly past such a troubling episode, people in his flat with shoes on, treading mess wherever they went. And they bought a flat together, bought a cat, decorated, and life moves on. And after several months of being stuck at home with just Ben to look forward to every day, Maria sensibly went and found some sane people to hang out with at the local hospital in her region. Anyway, enough joking around. Here today we see a formalisation of a partnership, and I'm certain that we'll see them lead a long and happy life together in the future. For all Ben's quirks, he's sincere, caring and thoughtful. Well, I was tempted not to say that after earlier. But he loves Maria completely, and they are really lucky to have found one another. And before I ask you all to stand and raise a glass in toast to the two of them, one last piece of advice from my former best mate. Remember, mate, when you get married, firstly, you need to be firm. Set the ground rules of the marriage and establish who is boss. And then just do everything Maria says. And secondly, never forget those magical 3 words, "You're right, darling." So, please all join your glasses, fill your glasses, and stand and join me in a toast. To the happy couple and a lifetime of happy memories that they will make together. So to Ben and Maria.
Ben and Maria.